Hey, are you consuming too much content? Now, hear me out as I know this is ironic, being that this is content, but this is something that God has been laying on my heart, and I just wanted to share what I've been processing through it. So, I remember quite a while back, I read this book by Francis Chan called You and Me Forever. And he talked about watching a documentary about 1,000 pound people and how they had to stay in bed and be fed constantly by someone else. And he related this to the American Christian church and how much content and things we consume, yet how little we put into action. And I think this plays out not just in our spiritual walk, but just in our day to day life. And so, something I've been noticing is that content and consumption of faith things, so listening to podcasts, those things I just mentioned, reading books, they could be good books, reading about business, psychology, lots of different things like that, watching for entertainment, watching Netflix, YouTube, social media, staying up with your friends' content, whatever it may be, there is so much content that it's overwhelming. And I don't know about you, but I constantly get people telling me, hey, you should watch this new show, or you need to check out this video, or this really made me think of you. And those are good things. But our minds are getting overwhelmed, mine specifically. I don't have enough time to actually rest. I recently took a week off of consuming any content other than the Bible. And while that's a short period of time, something that really stood out to me is how much more I felt my emotions when I wasn't constantly trying to numb them by reading something, watching something, going on social media. And I think the truth is that we need so much more rest than we actually give ourselves. And we believe that content is actually restful. We believe that scrolling on our phone or watching a YouTube video or turning on Netflix at the end of the night is restful. But I don't think that it actually gives us rest. A practice that I've been trying more recently, which is new and somewhat, it feels a little weird, is trying to just be silent with the Lord. It's not praying, but almost more like meditating, where you silence your mind and try to just be present with the Lord. And something that I've noticed in those times is how active my brain is, how many thoughts are popping into my head, how many different things are trying to distract me, which sometimes I'm getting frustrated about. But what I'm also recognizing is just my need for silence, for quiet. There's so many things that we're learning. Let's go from the learning perspective. You're reading business books, you're reading the Bible, you're hearing a sermon, whatever these things are. And we can't possibly implement all the things we're learning. So what tends to happen is rather than implementing a few well, we typically end up implementing zero or very little. Something that I'm trying to challenge myself in, and why I'm creating this video is to hopefully encourage you, is to actually really think about the kinds of content that you're consuming and the amount of content you're consuming. I'm still in the process of working through, and I'll share with you here as soon as I do, some systems and processes to help me to reduce it and be more thoughtful. For example, instead of watching YouTube videos every day, maybe I give myself 1 hour a week. So then I have to actually process through every time I see a video I want to watch, put it on a playlist and say, all right, I have an hour. Which videos am I actually going to watch? And you'll find that a lot of those things you thought were important, you're not actually going to watch. And so I think we need to be much more vigilant about being careful about the inputs that we're putting in. Because if we're not, we're going to be overwhelmed, we're going to be anxious, and we're not going to be able to live out the life that God has called us to. Because we can't do that in overwhelm, and we can't do that when we have too many things that we need to pour into. If we take the time, take some time to rest, sit in silence, I believe that it can actually truly strengthen who you are and strengthen hearing God's voice so that you can be more near to Him and make greater impacts for Him. And ultimately, hopefully feel more purpose in your life because it's not being drowned out by the constant inputs that surround you. So I know this was a little bit of a soapbox moment, But my hope is that you can just take a step back and evaluate this week. What is all the content you're consuming, and how could you slow that down to allow yourself to have a little more freedom and ability to push into the things that are actually important? Thanks for watching.